Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Dismiss the Doctor. I am your host, Dr. Bria J. I am so excited to welcome you all back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest that I would like to welcome to the podcast, a fitness coach, physical therapist, and a new grad.
Yes,
Allow me to welcome Dr. Will Adams to the show.
yes. How you doing, everybody?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, can't complain. I actually just finished studying a little bit for my boards coming up next month, so just locked in, focused with that. But I look forward to this podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be a part of the podcast. I'm so excited to get into your journey.
Yeah, no problem. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so I would love for you to just kind of like introduce yourself with your background, your schooling, and kind of where you are right now.
Yeah, so full name is William Adams from the Bronx, New York. I originally went to Gannon University, which is located in Ruskin, Florida. It's a satellite campus from the Gannon University in Pennsylvania. So I was in PT school for 3 years. That's how long it is for my grad program. I didn't do hybrid. I did in person, and I also have my own fitness brand. It's called Evolve or Die Fitness. My motive is either you're gonna evolve or deal with life challenges, or you're gonna die or remain stagnant, and I live that every single day. And in regards to like my journey with school, it's a little bit different. I mean, if you want us to go into that right now.
Yeah, go into it. Let's
Yeah,
get
it
into
was a
it.
little bit different. So basically, I graduated undergrad in 2020. I went to school for kinesiology, movement science. Originally, I was a psychology major, but I realized that the fields of psychology, like, it's okay. I'm not going to discredit any profession, but it just wasn't something that I seen myself doing long term. So I decided to just go into movement science, kinesiology, and it was a challenge for me. I'm gonna be quite honest for you because science was never really my go-to. So me getting hit with all these prerequisites and all these classes, I'm like, yo, this is a lot going on. But as time go by, you acclimate to it and you get better at it. But I was never like the stellar student. I never really had A's in any of my classes. I was like a B plus C student undergrad, to be quite honest with you. And it came to a point where it was like my junior year of college. We have the option like, do you want to go to PT school? Like, what do you want to do? At that point, I'm like, PT school sounds great, but I was nowhere close to even meeting the requirements. In undergrad, my math and science GPA was like a 2.4, and my cumulative was a 2.85. In college, I was a fraternity guy, student leader. I was on the track team. I had a lot going on. I mean, I don't think PT school is honestly the priority, to be quite honest with you. Came to a point where I was like, maybe I have to go to military and just figure life out. But the beauty of things is, I graduated around COVID time, and I think COVID was like my time to restart and really change things. So during COVID, I decided to retake all my prerequisites and bump my math and science GPA to a 2.95. So while I was doing all of that, I was a teacher, but this is how it started. I got my teaching position from my business. So basically, I'm a personal trainer as well on the side. And one of my clients was a teacher. And around the area where I was working at, she was like, why don't you just be a science teacher? You went to school for science. I'm like, I don't know about that. I was never the brightest kid in undergrad, so me teaching students is kind of crazy. But I'm like, you know what? I seen it like this. Like I had to see it from like longevity standpoint. Yes, at that time I kind of wanted to get into PT school. I was a little bit more serious about it. So I'm like, okay, if I'll become a teacher, I think that would like make me look very good on my application, especially if my grades wasn't the best. I have something to show, which was teaching experience. So I took the offer, and my first year of teaching was like insane. So I had to teach high school seniors, all boys. I taught at somewhere like in South Bronx called Cardinal Hayes High School. It's definitely very well cultured out there. And not everybody likes science, to be quite honest with you. So trying to teach high school of science is like already another hurdle, especially with me not having any teaching experiences. So that was very tough. So I taught anatomy physiology, I taught biology regents, and I taught physics. And yeah,
Physics, ooh.
it was hard. I mean, I wasn't getting a lot of sleep. I'm not even gonna be honest with you. I wasn't getting a lot of sleep. It was a lot of studying every single night. It was a huge identity crisis for me because like didn't really feel confident teaching the subjects. It was one of those things where it's like I kind of have to do this one because it's my job. Like I need money, you know what I mean? Because at the time, personal training, honestly, if you're working for like a gym or so, like you're not really getting as much money as you should be, to be honest with you. Especially if you went to school for kinesiology, it's like a slap in the face, to be honest. So with me having my business on the side, I was getting more money doing that than working for a gym. So doing that and teaching while studying for my GRE, while retaking all my prerequisites, while running my business, because I was selling clothing too at that time. It was a lot, I mean, my schedule was jam-packed, but it was one of those things where I just had to trust God and just give it all to Him because without Him, I was just going to be going crazy. So after like my first year of teaching, I think my GPA and everything got a little bit better. So then I started applying to PT schools out in New York. So, the New York GPA requirement is like ridiculously high. It's like 3.5, 3.7. Mind you, I told you I already had like a 2.9-ish, close to that. So I'm like, the odds of me getting into a PT school in New York is like, it's just not happening. So I still applied though, and I got rejected to like two schools. So then I'm like, all right, maybe I have to think a little bit more out the box. So I applied to other schools out in like Texas, out in
Was this the
Dallas.
same time or a different cycle?
This was a different. So this is the second cycle. I
Okay.
knew the first cycle like it was only New York. It just wasn't working. The second cycle, that's when I opened up. I'm like, all right, I gotta go. Outside of the city, outside of state. So that's when I looked into like different states like Dallas, Florida, and I think one was in Houston. But that was really about it. So from those schools I just talked about, it was like three schools for the second cycle. I only really fully applied to one because I remember like two schools were just saying like they couldn't take some of my credits or I just didn't meet the GPA requirement. It was like straightforward like that. One school even took my deposit and then told me that, oh, you don't meet the requirements. So it's like you just took my money. That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that's very messed up. And then another school actually, this is on University of St. Augustine. They was very helpful. I'm not even gonna I'm gonna be honest with you. They was very helpful in regards to like telling me what exactly I need to do to be a better candidate. At that point, that's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
So what I started doing was emailing a lot of like graduate advisors, like, hey, how you doing? I'm very interested in getting a PT school. Here's my resume. Here's my transcripts. Based off what I'm showing you, how can I improve my application to be a better, candidate applicant? And that school gave me a lot of advice, but like, I just didn't meet the requirements, so they just couldn't take me in. But with that knowledge that they gave me, it made me just a better applicant overall to apply to other schools. So the school I'm in now, called Gannett University, they, I gave my application to them and everything, and they said that I got accepted eventually, right? But like how it worked was like this. I emailed the grad advisor, and he was just like, if I take one more class, I should be able to bump it to close to a three or something like that, my math science GPA. So I did that, and I got my first interview, and I'm like, okay. In my head, I'm like this. I'm very confident in myself and my abilities. I'm like, if I have an interview, I'm getting into the program. You know,
Yeah.
you just got to see me who I am, what I'm about. So
Agreed.
yeah, so I got the interview. I was very excited. Especially because my opportunity was just a little bit different. What I mean, like my GPA was so low. The things I had to do to get to that point. So me seeing that interview, I'm like, hey, it might happen. It's a possibility. So that school's in Florida, so I'm in New York still at the time. So how it worked is once I got to interview, I was already around like my second and a half year of teaching. So I basically had to like put my 2 weeks in for teaching because I knew like, all right, this really might possibly be me getting out of this field and going into physical therapy. So this was around like March time. And once I got an interview, flew out to Florida, and I had a very great interview. The interviewees told me I did very good, and I was just very confident. And I felt like I really stood out compared to the other, applicants who were there, and it just felt like unreal to be honest. Like dang, I really did that. I'm here, I'm present in the moment. So after the interview and whatnot, I came back to New York, going back into teaching and everything like that. And the same graduate advisor called me and told me like, hey, your application was great and everything, but we're just not gonna continue the process. I'm like, wait, what? This don't even sound right. Like, how is that even possible?
The school you interviewed for.
Yeah, they
Okay.
told me that like they basically said they're gonna move on with my application.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it upon myself to contact the person who sent that email, contact the graduate advisor, and even contact the department chair, the lady who interviewed me. So I contacted the department chair. She didn't even get back to me. To be honest
Mm-hmm.
with you, like I was texting her, I was calling her. She didn't get back to me. The graduate advisor, he got back to me, and then he basically was just saying how he's just very surprised with that decision. He heard good things, and how he's just gonna stay in contact with me. And he just said for now, like if I could take another class or so, just do it. And I think it was like a physics two or something like that, or a chem two. So I'm like, dang. I was kind of getting tired of retaking classes. It's kind of frustrating taking a class you took already.
Yeah. Was this
So
year two of applications?
yes,
Okay.
it was like year two, yeah. So
For a lot of people that don't know, like PTCAS opens up like once a year, I believe, like in the summer. So like when you
mm,
don't get into school, you have to like wait until the next cycle opens back up.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so around that time, I was like just about to purchase my Chem 2 class. I did through Portage Learning. Like all the courses I retook was online. I don't think it's like that now because it's not COVID no more. But I had the opportunity over COVID to do that, so that was my strategy. And I don't think we was able to even able to do in-person classes around COVID time. There wasn't
Mm.
really an option unless you really like covering your face and all that stuff, vaccinated and all that thing. So right when I was about to pay for the class, he called me back. He said, "Hey, we looked over your application. We spoke out to a couple people. We are going to put you on the wait list." I'm like, "Oh wow, like
Oh,
this,
okay.
yeah, this is big, yeah." So I was like number nine, number 10 on the wait list. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm on the wait list, but that's pretty low, man." Oh, but I'll take whatever I can get.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was on the wait list for about like a good month. It was March, so getting into like April.
Hmm.
It was like gradually getting higher and higher. So he'll come in, hey, I'm at six.
Oh, that
And
was nice. He updated you.
yeah,
Yeah.
he updated me. He was like, I'm at six, I'm at five. Then I got into three. It was like around April. No, wow, I'm at three already. And then once I got into like one and, I got picked, it was like late April going into May. We started classes in May.
Hmm.
So I didn't
So
really
it
have
was
much,
probably like right before.
yeah, I did not have much time to like even decide where I'm gonna live and or anything like that. So by the time
Hmm.
I accepted, it was a great feeling. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. It was a great feeling knowing I got accepted. It was like, but I'm one of these people that like I don't get overly excited about certain things only because like I put in a lot of work to get to where I'm at. So
Hmm.
this is not like a surprise. Like no, I
Not a
put in work.
shocker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a shocker. Like I deserve this. I
Hmm.
always feel like wherever I'm at, anything big, any accomplishment, like I deserve to be here. So once I got the news, it was good news. But I'm like, there's more work to get done. Like, now let's survive in the program. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
I love your journey and just kind of how you went from undergrad to like doing a teaching role. I feel like that's definitely something that like allows you to stand out. I don't know a lot of people who in their gap year decided to teach. So that is such a unique experience. I feel like when I was applying I did a medical mission trip. So
mm,
that was like the one thing that I did to like allow myself to stand out a little bit.
mm,
And I feel like even your teaching role, like you learn a lot from teaching others.
yeah,
And that plays over when you're in PT school because PT school is really hard.
yeah,
And a lot of times people tell me, like, if you're able to teach it to someone, you know it. So, like,
mm,
coming from that background of being a teacher to being in PT school, I feel like you definitely had a hand up. So, everything happened for a reason.
of, of course, yeah, thank you. And even when I was teaching, I really matured a lot because
Yeah.
like I'm mentoring like 300 plus students, young men now. Like it's crazy. Like I'm gonna further get into like our preschool journey, but a lot of my students that I've taught my first year of school, they graduated the same day as me.
Yeah.
So once I graduated PT school, my students that I taught who were seniors graduated as well. So they got their BS or bachelor's in whatever they studied in college. So it was like a feel good moment, you know. And a couple of my students had went to my undergrad because I inspired them to like, you know, do better things and be better. And there's some students that are pursuing physical therapy because I actually told my students when I was teaching that like I have an interest in physical therapy. I didn't want to say too much because I didn't want my job to know I'm leaving, but like I did tell them what I enjoy. Yeah. And I definitely helped some students out with their applications for undergrad, like, you know, trying to get into like schools that really focus on like science, kinesiology, things of that nature, giving a lot of helpful advice. But yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you're doing the mentorship now and then also like your social media page. It's very like inspirational and inspiring to go to your page and just like get your 5 things tips on things you
Yeah.
learned, the lessons you learned.
Yeah.
I think that's so amazing because there are just certain things that we go through in our journey, and I think it's very important for us to like give back to the community and like share the lessons that we've learned so that people don't make the same mistakes. And that's kind of a reason why I'm doing this podcast and why I also share my journey because I feel like I made a lot of mistakes, but I didn't make those same mistakes. I tried not to make them twice.
Yes.
But I feel like with sharing it and like mentoring other people, other students or people who are interested, you never know when you are making a huge impact on someone. So I just want to commend you for doing that on top of also applying to schools because it's a lot.
It
It's a
is.
lot. So you are making such a difference in the community and the people that you're touching, and you never know if they would have been kind of persuaded another way. Because I want to talk about on your page you mentioned like back in 2018 when you were in undergrad that your advisor had told you that like maybe science isn't for you. So
Yeah.
I want to get into that a little bit on how that conversation went.
Yeah, that was very personal once he said that. But at that time, it was probably like my junior year of college, and we have like advisory meetings, like you know, like once a year. So I think it's mandatory. And how they do it is they just analyze your grades and just tell you like where you're at, you know, what's your plans, and what you want to do. You know, at the time, you know, with my undergrad program department, kinesiology, movement science. It was like, all right, if you in here, you probably try and be a physical therapist or like a OT or so. I didn't know too much about OT back then, but I mean now it's from my experiences with working OTs, they are pretty great. They're cool, you know. But yes, back at then the focus was PT, PT, PT. Everything was PT. So I told him, yeah, I want to, you know, consider going into PT school eventually or some point in life, you know, because that's like the highest that we can do when it comes to movement science. So he was like, you know, but at the time I wasn't the best student. You know, in class I would be sleeping sometimes, I'm tired, not really paying attention. You know, so he just said he don't think movement science is for me just based off my grades. You know, based off my grades and just like my how I was interacting in his class. To be quite honest, and once he said that, I'm like, nah. One, he shouldn't like, yeah, I'm like, nah, like he shouldn't. One, he should not be telling any student that, you know,
Yeah.
maybe especially if they have goals of doing something. That's kind of messed up. But two, like once people like say stuff like that to me, it really puts like the battery in my back for real. So at the moment, was I heard about it for sure? Of course, I was heard about it, and I kind of felt a little bit lost. You know, I'm like, dang, like I got a guy who's already in the profession, so I'm like, you don't even think it's for me. And then two, I was kind of really like not really too sure like what I even wanted to do anymore. Because at school, you know, originally my focus was just to graduate. And then when I really found out, all right, I want to do something with myself, the guy said, oh, I don't think it's for you. So I was like, come on now, you know? So it got pretty personal after that. So going into my senior year of undergrad, I'm like, all right, something got to shake. Either I go back home to New York, stay with the parents and figure it out, or there wasn't even no other option.
Yeah.
Especially,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like to your point, I had a very similar situation where when I eventually decided that I wanted to do physical therapy, my academic advisor also told me, based off of my grades at the time, I want to say maybe I had like a 3.0
Mhm.
GPA. She just basically was like, "You're not competitive enough. I don't think you should go into physical therapy."
Right.
And my issue with that, with the advisor that I talked to and the advisor that talked to you, it's like if I'm coming to you, you're an advisor, and I'm saying I want to do this. I understand that there has to be a realistic component of it, but then I also understand that you should advise me on how I can get there. Like
Exactly.
you are here right now. what is it that I need to do in order to get to that next level? Because if I'm coming to you and I'm telling you, like, this is what I want to do, you see where I'm at now. I have what, maybe 2 more years left in undergrad. I still have time. There's
Yeah.
still time, right? So I feel like I am sometimes just disappointed when I hear these stories like, oh, I went to my academic advisor and they told me like, okay, this is never going to happen or that's not going to happen.
Hmm.
Because I think there's a fine line between like being realistic and then like trying to give you resources so that you can make it happen.
Exactly.
Because that's also a thing, right? You don't have to say like, oh, I think it's complete no. You can say, I think right now it's a no, but in order for you to get there, I think you should be doing this, this, and that. And I think that that makes a huge difference because I've had friends who went to their academic advisors and they wanted to do physical therapy in undergrad, but because their advisor told them not to, they chose something else. And I believe that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It's just that you never know when that is going to change the trajectory of someone's life, and
It's
so it's very meaningful. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
I would like to fast forward to when you finally got into PT school.
Yes.
How was that experience for you?
It was a little bit. I was optimistic. Like in the beginning, I was very optimistic. I'm like, I'm going to a different state. It's crazy. I always wanted to go to Florida, so it just worked out for me that I'm in Florida, you know. But the biggest downfall, well, I wouldn't really say a downfall, but because it's really not. But the biggest challenge was leaving my family. I'm a family oriented person. You know, like me and my family, we locked in. We're very serious. We're close, and my girlfriend as well. I was so originally I met my girlfriend. We've been talking for about 7, 8 months. You know, so once I got accepted to school, I'm like, dang, there's a chance that I gotta leave this my state I'm currently in. You
Okay.
know, so I took upon myself. I'm just gonna make her my girlfriend. You know, very supportive person. So when I went to Florida, you know, that was pretty hard because I feel like I just made this person my girlfriend. Now I'm leaving, and then I'm leaving my family. Mind you, my sister was pregnant at the time too. So I think as soon as I left to go to Florida, she had just gave birth to her son. So I'm like, dang, I want to be around my new nephew and everything. So it was a lot. I lost a little bit there, but when I finally got into school, I didn't really have my housing situation set up the best, so I had to move in with two of my classmates from my cohort. Was it something I wanted to do? If I had a choice, probably not. But you know, like I said, I got accepted late, so I had to just do what I had to do.
Yeah.
But I was definitely in a whole different atmosphere, and has nothing to do with color. You know, I went to a HBCU for undergrad, so I went. My school now was well, school I graduated from now. Thank God it was a PWI, but you know, culture shock expected. You know, but I mean, I didn't let it make me feel any different or anything like that. I'm a pretty
Yeah.
chill person, you know. So when I did get there, it was a little bit. I was a little bit nervous, only because I never had good grades. You know, I never had all my classmates are coming in from, you know, I wouldn't say Ivy League schools, but you could just tell they had good grades all their life. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like, dang, I gotta step it up. You know, so orientation, I went with the mentality to like, you know, this is a new beginning for me. And I always told myself this in undergrad: if I had a chance to start over, my life is gonna change. And my DPT program was my opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's literally how I went in with it, with that type of mindset. So like the first couple weeks, you know, they gave us like the syllabus and everything like that, and I took upon myself like, cause I didn't really know how to study like that. Remember, this is a whole new will. I'm actually taking school very seriously now. So like the first 2 weeks, I'm studying for like 14, 16 hours. You know, I'm like, oh, I gotta catch up, I gotta lock in, I gotta lock in. Come to show, like I was doing a little bit way too much, and it didn't really translate to the grades. Cause it's really not about quantity, it's about quality.
Quality.
But I didn't know that, and that's expected for a lot of first year PT students. You don't know how to study. You know what I mean? You know, you get there, you think you know what you're doing, but then like you got your test that humble you, of course, or quizzes, and then that's when you learn what's right for you and what's not. You know, so that's how it was for me, like the first couple of weeks, like adjusting. But you know, eventually I figured it out like my second semester. My first semester, you know, it was hard because I'm taking a lot of courses that I didn't even know PT school entail of. With physical therapy, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I did not know physical therapy could do so much. I just I just thought it was an advanced level personal training because I'm a personal trainer, so no, this just makes sense. And
Yeah.
then when they went over to anatomy, evidence-based practice,
The
mo
research, kinesiology, biomechanics.
movement foundation, all that stuff. I'm like, yo, this is a lot.
Yeah.
This is a lot, and I think my first semester I had to get a tutor. Like that was
Okay.
mandatory because if I didn't get a tutor, I probably was gonna fail out. My grades was not the highest, but it wasn't the lowest. But I didn't want to get like too complacent or anything like that. I need to be the
Yeah.
minimum. I don't care to get the highest grades. Just have
Yeah.
me the minimum, the middle. Right? That's it. That was my intentions. So my school didn't have an in-person tutor. They had something like like an English tutor or something like that to help you with like documentation and things like that. I don't know how to
Okay.
phrase the PD school, but I mean I never
Like
used
your
it.
writing documentation?
Yeah, writing
Okay.
documentation, right? And we also had like the in-person office hours for the teachers. So I was doing that. Every exam I passed, failed, I would go over it with my professor, the material and all that stuff. What was very hard for me was I had to get out of that teacher mindset because I was a teacher. So
Yeah.
I'm taking these exams. I'm thinking like, I wonder how the teacher's trying to trick me and all that stuff. That didn't help. That didn't help at all. That
You're
actually messed me up.
overthinking.
Yeah, I was overthinking and overthinking.
Yeah.
So that did not help at all. What really helped me was my tutor I had.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing, very interesting. My tutor that I had in PT school was the same tutor that I had when I was trying to get into PT school. She was helping me out with my chemistry classes, my biology classes, and like my physics classes, if didn't say that already. And at the time she was a medical student. So I hope she's a
Okay.
doctor right now. I really hope she is. You know what I mean? She's very, very smart and educated lady. So she really helped me out a lot my first year. And, after that first year, I was able to pass all my classes, thank God. And things just started to get better from there. To be quite honest with you, things really just started to get better from there. I felt like I had my footing in PT school after the white coat ceremony. So the white coat ceremony was right after my second semester, right before we go into our clinical rotations.
How often were you getting the tutoring and where did you find her at?
I found her on some website called Wisrant.
Okay.
I don't think I pronounced it right, but I mean, once we get the
I'll
information,
find it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send that over to you. But very
Okay.
helpful, very helpful. And what was the other question?
How often a week or
Often,
how
yeah.
often would you say she was tutoring you? Was it like every
Um,
day, a few days a
it was
week?
like it was like probably on average for that first semester, it was probably like twice a week. Like twice a week, yeah. Well worth it. Great investment. One thing about me, I'm always gonna invest in something that's gonna pay me back later. Even if I feel like the pockets are hurting, it's going to pay back. It's going to pay back. Literally, like the best investment I could have made from trying to get into PT school to PT school. So, and I feel like a lot of people too, like with tutoring, it's like an ego thing. Like, oh, I don't want nobody tutoring me and all that stuff. Well, that's not flying with me. I need all the help. You know what I mean? So I need every help I can get. So that's what I did. I used it to my advantage.
Yeah. Well, one, I just want to commend you for going into it with that mentality and getting a tutor right away, like knowing what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. Because I feel like sometimes that's a lot of things, that's something that people struggle with. Like they go in, they don't have a good study style, they don't know how to study, and they're going based off of their peers or the people that are around them.
Of course.
Because when people ask me, my first advice is always learn your studying style. And then after that, I'm telling them like you need to also prioritize your mental health and well-being
Exactly.
because you mentioned that like okay when you went into it you were studying 12, 14 hours and like how the quantity putting those hours in wasn't quality studying. And
Exactly.
I preach that all the time because that also happened to me when I was in PT school. Like I thought like, oh, I'm putting in all these hours, I'm putting in all this like extra work, like it should definitely pay off. And it was just like I learned that like I'm not the type of person that like I can't study past 9 p.m. Like it
Yeah.
just does not work for me.
Right.
And I also can't study for hours straight. Like I have to set a timer, study for an hour, get up, go for a walk, come back, allow my mind to just like have that reset. And I feel like sometimes a lot of people, especially when you're new, you're coming in, like a lot of people have that mindset. And I'm just like, please do not do that. Don't sacrifice your sleep. So listening to you sounds like me.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
Like, do not sacrifice your sleep. I am the type of person, like, I need my 8 hours of sleep. It got to a point when my first year of school, I was like studying all the way up until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I
Mhm.
don't even stay up that late. Like, that is just
Oh
not even
wow.
me. So it was just like, I had, like, what allowed me to just like reset was like, I had talked to one of my mentors and she was just like, well, how long is it going to take you to work out? Like, go to the gym. I'm like, typically like an hour. And she
Yeah.
was just like, okay, you're taking an hour out of a 24 day to take care of yourself. I think that's worth it. And I'm like, you're right. Like working out was what I did to help me just help me manage the stress that I was going through. And so
Same.
I took out working out because I wanted to study more. And it was just like, no, this is a downhill
It
spiral.
wasn't a good exchange. Right. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just was not a good exchange. So I just want to commend you for like looking into the tutoring early on because that was something that I also struggled with, and I ultimately think that's what led to my dismissal.
Mhm.
I didn't ask for help right away, and like to your
Okay.
point, what you said about ego, like I didn't want to ask for help. I knew that a lot of my other cohorts were like getting it, but like also to your point, I was a little bit older going into PT school. A lot of them were younger, so a lot of things were fresh in their mind,
Mhm.
and so I've had a very hard time accepting help. And I love that you invest in yourself so early on in the program because a lot of people will say, you know, like, oh, that costs money. But it's just like, what, like, is it going to be worth it and beneficial to you? Then
Of
that is
course.
an investment in your education. Like,
Yeah.
take that leap.
Exactly. Literally take the lead. Take the lead.
Yes. Yes. So I love that you kind of already you had that mindset going into it. Once you got through PT school or made it through like your white coat ceremony,
Hmm.
would you say that was a pivotal moment in your career? Do you feel like everything kind of fell into place
After the
up
white
until
coat was
graduation?
after the graduation. Because my white coat was like the first half of PT school.
Okay. So up until the white coat ceremony, did you feel like you had a good rhythm going? And then did you feel like it continued throughout PT school? Like, did you feel like you
Yeah.
had any like scary moments of like grades, or did you feel like once you set that foundation, you were good?
Yeah, basically once I set the foundation, I was great. You know, my first half, like going into the white coat ceremony, so like that's the end of the second semester. It's technically the end of the third semester because it was the end of the spring. So we had summer, fall, spring. Yeah. So I felt like I had my footing because I had a very good support system with my cohort, my friends, you know. I had developed a friend group, you know, very educated people, and you know, iron sharpens iron. So I was getting smarter just being around these people. But these people, they don't study as hard as me, you know, but they excel very high. I'm in my head, I'm
Yeah.
like, these people can do it, but I'm like, hey, more power to them, but I still got to put in work, you know. So
Yeah. I'm
it was,
always jealous of those people.
huh? You were
I'm
jealous?
always jealous of those people.
I wasn't really jealous. I'm more so like, dang, I aspire to be like that one day. That's how I
Uh-huh.
see it. Bro. I'm a very positive person, you know.
Yeah.
Gotta preach it. Everybody know me for being positive, so I wouldn't really see it as a jealousy thing. But so yeah, I had a one classmate, you know, for every exam, going to every exam, we would study in person, you know, for like let's say the exams on Monday, we would do like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But we'll crank out a good, I would say realistically 8 to 10 hours. But
Okay.
how we studied was pretty like consistent. We look over the information first, and then we'll talk it out like it's a conversation. The same way I'm talking to you is the same way how we would study, you know, and that really elevated my whole academic career in regards to physical therapy. You know, that literally brought me from like a I would say like a 3.1 GPA all the way to almost a 3.5. You know,
Okay.
that
Wow.
was a big jump for me. I never had a 3.5 in my life, you know, so it's just like, wow, this is amazing. So I really had the foundation set definitely by the time I was white coat. I was like pretty confident of like physical therapy. I was very open, optimistic. I wanted to do sports. I was very big on sports because you know I played basketball in high school, and I think what really got me into physical therapy was I got injured and I had patella tendonitis, and I went to physical therapy. And physical therapy did not get me better. Like, it did not get me better. So I'm like, dang. You see how something could really mess up your athletic career? And that's how it was for me. It didn't make my career better. It worsened my career and my performance athletically. So I wanted to learn how the body work and operates. So it happened to me, it don't happen to anybody else. So that was my focus with sports PT. So that's why I wanted to get into it. But quite interesting, to be quite honest with you, from my experiences with working with sports PTs, speaking to sports PTs, having a lot of, professional sports connections, it's not as bright as I thought it would be. To be
It's
quite honest with you.
glamorous.
It's not as glamorous. And I seen that I could do so much more with physical therapy outside of sports. You have acute care, you got inpatient, you got home health, you like geriatrics. It's so many other things that you can do. And I was like, wow, this is actually quite amazing. So it definitely opened my eyes, like me graduating now. I'm not gonna say I'm not even thinking about sports, but like I like the hospital, to be quite honest with you. When I
Really?
was working in my inpatient rotation, I was working with the nurses, the physicians, the OTs, the speech language pathologists. It was amazing how like the teamwork, everybody's working together. And I'm a team player, so meeting everybody, I felt real great. And I felt welcomed. I didn't feel like anybody's above me and nothing like that. Nobody
Yeah.
really gave off that energy. So
Okay, Dr. Adams gonna be coming to a hospital near
yeah,
you.
soon. Yeah, anytime.
Well, I also want to congratulate you because you graduated this past,
Thank
was it
you.
May or April?
May.
May. Well, congratulations. I do want to ask you, kind of piggybacking off of like your style on your TikTok, I
Yeah.
would like to ask you 5 things about yourself that are not related to physical therapy that you would like the audience to know.
Yeah. A I would say I'm a retired extrovert. I used to go out a lot, be very social, and just enjoy and live my life. But I slowed down a little bit. Maybe I think it's just because I'm getting older, to be honest. I'm turning 28 in July, and I'm more sort of focused on really just like setting a foundation for my life, like saving, managing student loans, and just looking into things outside of physical therapy. I don't want to. My goal was never to really be a PT forever. My goal is to like build a life outside of PT. And I'm setting the foundation for those things right now. So that was one fact, right? Number two, just to reinstate again, I have a fitness brand called Evolve or Die Fitness. I sell fitness merchandise. I do one-on-one personal training online and as well as in person. And yeah, I have about 6 years of experience in personal training, and that's just what I do. Three, I am I look at the bigger things in life. I don't look at the short term things. I look at like longevity of things. So like what we had said in our thing about investing in your education or your goals, whatnot. I'm big on that because sometimes like we might invest certain things, we might not see things right away, but as time go by, you're gonna look back like I'm glad I did that one thing that set me up to be in a better position now. So I always look at the bigger picture. Yes, physical therapy school is a lot of money, right? But would you rather deal with that and just pay off the loans, whatnot, and live a life of what you're doing, or be miserable doing something else? Always keep that in the back of your head. Always keep that in the back of your head for anybody who's thinking that it might be a lot of money. Sorry to get in PT, but like it's just something on like reminding myself and telling people.
Yeah, it's
Um,
important.
yeah. Four, I like to dress up a lot and go out in the sense of like casual, business casual type of clothing. That's really like my thing. My mom always told me, you look good, you feel good, so always take care of yourself. And five, I would say that I have like a entrepreneurial mindset. I want to make 7 figures. I want to make 7 figures. Like that's my goal. I
You
want to be,
will.
yeah, I will. I don't want to be working for anybody for too long. I really have to say this story. It correlates to physical therapy a little bit, a little bit. So I shadowed a surgery. I shadowed 3 surgeries: total hip replacement, total knee, reverse, total shoulder. And I was speaking to the surgical vendor, and he said his richest friend is a physical therapist. I'm like, really? And he was like, his net worth is $600 million. $600 million is his net worth. He said that PT is a businessman, entrepreneurial. He has massive business, and he's just been at it for a little minute. So that made me feel very confident that you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You put your mind to it, and you just be creative, and you just have that mindset like I'm gonna go and get this. you
And it's
know.
important to surround yourself by people who are also doing the same thing that you want to do. So thank
Exactly.
you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
As we wrap up, where can our listeners, where can they find you? What are your socials?
Yes. So my Instagram is called Evolve or Die Fitness. So that's like my brand page, Evolve or Die Fitness. Just put that together. And my TikTok is Willie EOD. Let me just make sure the tag is on right for real because sometimes I put two E's and forget. So it
But I'll,
is.
I'll link it. I'll link it in the show
Oh,
notes.
okay. Yes, it's Willie EOD on TikTok as well. And yeah, that's all my two main socials.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining in on this episode. This was such a great conversation, and I
Absolutely.
love just like hearing your journey. You remind me so much of myself.
I'm glad
And
we
it's
are in
just,
the position we're in now.
yes, and it's very inspiring to see that you have come just so far from when you initially started to now graduating, studying for your boards, preparing for, like where you want to be in the field, but then also knowing that you have that entrepreneur like mindset. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you very much. And I have a question for you.
Yes.
I take my boards next month. What advice do you have for me and the students who's taking their boards in July?
Yeah, so I'm actually doing a video on this on my
Oh,
TikTok
nice.
soon, but this will be the preview. My advice for board exams, one, I got a tutor. I definitely I preached getting a tutor. I thought that that was a missing point that I had within my studies. And then I felt like it helped me fill in any gaps that I was missing.
Mm,
Two, I used Final Frontier. I am very visual learning, so I love that they had the videos. And so I had a really great time with their videos. And I enjoyed it, and I thought it was just very much so worth it.
mhm.
I also, in addition to that, I listen to podcasts. I listen to Kyle Rice. I listen to his podcast. So I listen to a podcast like every single day. And I really enjoyed it. And sometimes I would pause it and like try to answer it before like he would go over the answer. And that was very helpful for me. And then also taking the Pete exams, like taking the retired Pete. I
Yeah,
took so many of them.
yeah,
And then as I was going over it, I would ask myself, okay, well, why did I think it was this? And then I would review what the correct answer was, and then I would try to rephrase it in a different way, or like look at it in a different way. Like, okay, if the question said this, maybe would have been this answer, or if the question said this, it would have been this answer. So I
mm,
feel like the combination of those things really helped me. I also did a lot of like active recall with
yeah.
my studying. So like if I was going through a topic, I would like write it down.
Mhm.
And then, say if I was missing a point, I would go onto my dry erase board and I would write it down again.
Right.
And then, whatever I was missing, I would come back in another color and like write it down until like everything was one color.
Oh, nice.
And so that really helps me. I also just locked in. Like, for
Yeah.
when I graduated to the time I passed my board exam, I was studying like full time.
Mm.
Like there was,
Fun
I
thing.
was still, taking care of myself, but like I was studying full time. I wasn't like all my other cohort members who, like a lot of them, I was probably the only one that was not working during that time frame.
Oh, wow.
I chose to just like lock in. And so those are kind of the tools that I use for the
That's
most
good.
part.
Okay.
And then I think also the app PT 365.
Yeah.
I had that as a question like every single day. So that was super helpful
Okay.
as well. Because
Yeah.
it gives you like a percentage of like where you are, where your weaknesses are,
Mm.
based off of the categories. So I love that.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much. I'll
Of
definitely
course.
take all these things in consideration, use them.
Yes, you got it. You already passed. I'm going to say congratulations in advance.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this episode of Dismiss the Doctor. I am
Yes.
so grateful that we were able to have Dr. Will Adams here today with us.
Yes.
Please be tuned to follow him on social media. I'll have his links in the description. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.